welcome back. 4 days work week in India, are we ready for that? But well, there's a catch to it. You might have to work longer, from 8 hours to 12 hours. For those who wanted a 4-day work week, well, your wish has technically come true, but there's the catch. Those 4 days could now stretch to 12 hours each. India is not officially moving into a 4-day work week, but the new labor laws give you a choice. Now, what's happened here is the Labour Ministry has pre-published draft rules under the 4 new labour codes and opened them for public feedback for 45 days. These rules are expected to be fully operational from April 1st. So these labour codes, announced in November 2025, redefines everything from wages, employment type, gratuity, bonus, social security and gig worker rights as well. Some of the mandates include basic salary that must be at least 50% of C2C, gratuity for fixed-term employees after 1 year, not 5, earned leave after 180 days, overtime. If you do overtime, you should get paid double wages. Full and final settlement should happen within 2 working days. Salary is credited before the 7th of every month. Now, the most debated part, of course, is the working hours, and that's been capped at 48 hours. So 48 hours in all, and that you can divide if you want between 4 days, 5 days or 6 days. That's no changing. 48 hours remain intact. So what really is an opportunity for employers here is if people want to condense or club their working hours to just 4 days, they're allowed to do it. So 48 hours can be distributed. Under the new framework, employers and employees, by mutual consent only, can compress work week. Instead of 8 hours over 6 days, you could now work 12 hours a day for 4 days and get paid and also get paid leave for 3 days. This is what's being called a compressed work week, but with safeguards, of course. The 48-hour cap is absolute. There's no changing that. Anything beyond the agreed daily limit becomes overtime and payable at twice the wage. So if you're working even 1 hour extra, you are eligible to get double the wage per hour. The daily limits, breaks and rest periods will be finalized by state governments, meaning rules may vary across states, but the national ceiling of 48 hours remain firm. So yes, longer days are allowed, but only with consent and only with higher pay beyond limits. So for workers, this could mean something rare in India's formal sector, and that is choice, that if you want to work 12 hours and finish your week in 4 days, you're allowed to do so, though employer must agree to and the employee. If there is no consent, then let me tell you, it's not just misuse, it also means that the employer could be breaking the law here. So you are very much within your right to ask. Is India ready now for this kind of flexibility without exploitation? Let me bring in our panelists. Kapil Shankla, advocate of the Supreme Court, joins us. We also have Dilip Chenoy, former Secretary General FICCI, and Dr. Kiranpreet Kaur, HR expert. Thanks very much, all of you, for joining us. Dilip Chenoy, would you want to come in on this? Are you welcoming the 48-hour cap and 4-hour work week, 12 hours in a day if you want to condense your week? It sounds good to me, because a lot of times you don't even finish work and you're anyway staying longer. And employers don't, I shouldn't be saying it, I'm an employee myself, but you know, it's generally not valued. They're like, okay, it's your part of your project, you finish and go. And I don't even know how to ask for double pay. I'm not talking about myself. I'm treated very well here. But a lot of them they don't even know how to ask for a double pay if they stay 1 hour extra. The new labor code says you can get paid twice or double the price per hour if you're working an extra hour. So one is, I'm anyway going to be working extra hours. I might as well condense my week to 4 days.
Yeah, so thanks, Nabila. And, I think it's a very interesting, introduction that you've given, and, giving your own example, etc. But if you look at this, it's a positive move. And if you look at the different industry sectors and different employees and employers have been reacting differently to this. If you look at the startup space, if you look at the IT space, and if you look at certain other related industries, both the employers and employees have welcomed it, because they find that this is possible to increase productivity and also help in a different kind of a thing. Most couples who both work have actually welcomed this, and they're actually strategizing to see how they could, coordinate their off days to ensure that if they have aged parents or young kids at home, how they can actually give them good personal attention, and manage this in a very interesting way. Yes, certain industries which are continuous manufacturing industries or consumer facing industries, or which have rigid timelines, they have a challenge. But again, what's important is while the central draft rules are out, the state draft rules are equally important because this is a concurrent subject. But I think it's a very positive move. We are getting closer to international kind of working conditions. And obviously, a lot of global firms where this is allowed and they're operating in India, for them, it will be a great positive.
Uh, Sounds interesting. As an advocate, if I could ask, bring in Kapil on this. Kapil, what's your view on 4-day work week? As an advocate, I know you're working many hours. I'm sure you're practicing independently, or I'm not sure if you're part of a firm. You could tell us what are the legal measures that employees have now as part of the new labor code. They're 48 hours cap, but you can condense it to 4 days. But no, the big question is exploitation. It's very easy for workers to be exploited. I'm not too sure how easy they find to complain or ask for double pay if they work extra. So what are their rights?
So, poor lawyer, you're absolutely right. I run my own firm and
Great.
I'm answerable to myself.
Yeah.
So, I'm in that unique position. Having said that, you
That's
see, we
even
have to
better because now
see
you
this.
can tell me what your employees do.
Absolutely right. I'm my favorite employee.
Yeah.
But co- coming back, you see, we have to see it in the light of the changes that have been brought in the general labor laws.
Right.
There were 29 different laws and codes which have been consolidated to four. The definition of wages has been consolidated. Now we have something called, the 50-50 rule, where the add-ons cannot be more than 50% of the basic wage. We also have more protective mechanisms for the employees and simpler filings for the employer. Now, when you look at it in that light, you understand why this move was made. We already had a 9-hour work shift. Now we have consolidated, which could go until 10.5 hours, not beyond that. And now we have consolidated it and given a leeway from 8 hours to 12 hours as a choice to the employers and employees, depending on the different sectors that they're working in. Now, if somebody could work for 12 hours and the employer also agreeing,
Yeah.
you can consolidate into a 48 hours, work. Or you could have a break shift. There are checks and balances in the break shift as well. And there are checks and balances between the different shifts as well. So seeing all of that and seeing that there is a simplification in how the employer is going to file his records and the onus and duties have been increased and also mechanisms have been put into place as far as strikes are concerned, raising grievances, etc., are concerned in the four acts which are there, as well as in this particular what we're talking about. I think it's a move in the right direction, both for the employers as well as for the employees. You see, there are various industries, for example, service industries like hospitality, which are very closely associated with, in which I know that there are concepts called break shifts, where you work for 4 hours, you rest for 4 hours, you again work for 4 hours, and that goes on in continuance. And there are other industries which are also alike. So for those, I think this would be a move in the right direction, protecting the employees and protecting their rights. As far as others are concerned, it could actually grant benefit to the employers as well. Of course, there has to be consent of the employee that, should the employee also be in agreement, there could be consolidated work hours of work which could be given in a week, giving more work-life balance to the employees as well.
But, from a productivity standpoint, do 12-hour work days really actually deliver better output? I'm not too sure. Kiranpreet, would you want to come in on that? And give us your sense on this new labor code. It gives us flexibility to condense our work week, but I could well imagine that employers might use this to exploit as well.
Right.
12 hours could be 13, 14 hours. How does it matter? Anyway, you're working only 4 days.
Right. So I think it'll largely depend on the industry, you're associated with. For example, in manufacturing, where, if it's less capital intensive, more labor intensive, working for 12 hours could cause a lot of burnout. I don't know if your work-life balance happens, or,
Yeah.
you're creating another issue for yourself, especially health. However, there are other industries like healthcare anyway has always worked for 12 hours. With the correct measures, it is manageable. The flexibility definitely allows an individual to manage work better. Uh, if the work is of that kind, for example, IT services, SaaS businesses, GCC being set up in India, they can afford that. It would reduce that dependency, atmosphere. So it's more like a psychological shift, cultural shift, not just, a law that needs to come into practice. As far as productivity is concerned, I think it has to be an organizational maturity to move more towards outcome driven than, going through the traditional practice of the number of hours you put in and the number of days you worked. I think we need to have that shift, and organizations must be ready. Again, could be industry, difficulties. It can be tricky for some industries, but for others, I think it's very well manageable.
Dilip Chennai, would you want to come in on this on productivity and longer work hours? Is there any correlation?
I think if you look at some of the comments that have come in, and also if you look at Kiranpreet, what she has just mentioned, if you have continuous manufacturing or something like that, but like Kapil said, rest periods have also been built in. So with safeguards and with good planning, you could take care of fatigue and look at productivity. But it has many other ramifications. Imagine if a 12-hour workday means you start early and end a little bit late. It takes the traffic out. It's a real different thing, because organization will be starting later, traffic will be easier, and pollution would be less. There's a lot of other benefits to this whole thing. Fatigue is accumulation of different aspects, and employers, if they were to use this very effectively, they can in effect have in 12 hours two shifts or two different set of employees actually operating in different days, and increase productivity tremendously, and also improve the service or the customer facing businesses pretty nicely. So I think it's an opportunity to be used to increase productivity, to help your workforce, and really look at how you can use it. Both the employee can use it to his or her advantage, and the employer can also use it to his advantage or her advantage, without exploitation, because you've been worrying about this whole exploitation issue right throughout since we started.
All right. All right, so I think one consensus I've got from all of you is that this is a welcome move and it benefits both the employee and the employer. But the safeguards to ensure exploitation does not happen. I think we're going to wait for the labor code to sort of define that. Until then, thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us on that.